Welcome back, everybody. And by everybody, I mean just me, because I'm the only person who watches my videos. So today is a little different because I'm putting a bit more effort into my videos than usual. And we are going to be ranking the deaths of all the heroes that occur in this manhwa called Warrior's Return. It's a really interesting manhwa and I really like it. So I'm hoping I can shed some light to it, but that just sounds like an ironical statement now that I'm saying it. We're still gonna do it though, so let's begin. At number 11, we have the Golem Warrior. He's basically the warrior who died first and has a very basic backstory and like very boring power set. So, like, he has golems, arms that he can control, and eyes that he can look through. Like, I think he can use them as an extension of his own eyes and look through them. He meets his end at the hands of our MC. During the fight, he gets his hand cut off and his teeth knocked in. In a desperate attempt to escape, he charges up an attack that he calls Flowers and shoots a red laser beam from one of his eyes. But then our MC overpowers that easily by throwing an electric spear that goes right through the middle of his chest. And he dies in the water, thinking about how he could have, all he wanted to hear was thank you and nothing else. A very basic backstory and not a very interesting fight is why he is placed at number 11. At number 10, we have the possessed vampire warrior. He has a very interesting fight against Ma Yelin, or the magic warrior, but he doesn't die in that fight. He dies in a fight against the resurrection warrior. He eats a condensed drop of 1,000 people's blood and then he starts hyping himself up, saying that, oh, I have saved this final weapon to destroy all of you other heroes if you ever dare to turn against me. But then the entire fight is off screen. We join them when the blood warrior is already on the ground, defeated, and then the resurrection warrior just walks up to him and cuts his head off. The only reason he is above the Golem Warrior is because this fight gives us the twist reveal of the Resurrection Warrior. Next on the list, we have the biggest fraud in the entire manga, Hans Joseph Belegis. This guy had been hyped up to the moon and back. He had a panel controlling the Nazi leader. He had a panel saying, let's declare the Third World War. He had the goat, Ivan Puskas, looking like this. And in the past, it took him, some old gen crystal warrior, and the old gen transformation warrior just to stop this one man. And all this hype just to get packed up in one chapter by one attack from Minsu Kim. That's it. If you can't hear it in my voice, I am pissed. Anyways, moving on from this fraudster. Next, we have the Sea Dragon Warrior. Now, her backstory tried to do too much in too little time because I really didn't get invested in her love story. She fell in love with a person from another world, and then that king followed her here back to our world, but his body could not keep up with the conditions of our world and he had to transform into a dragon. This transformation ended up killing everybody aboard the ship that they were on, and then they proceeded to become villains after that. Her death is very cool though. The hero ends up splitting both the woman and the dragon right down the middle after breaking through her defensive barrier, and that is why I've put her at number 8. Next, we have the martial arts warrior. Now, this guy was part of the best fight in the entire manga. I love it so much, against the metamorphosis warrior. And his death is very poetic in a sense. Beaten and broken, he goes back home, and then we are shown that he has a grandmom, probably his only family member left alive. Alive, not anymore, because she died before he could come back from the other world. And this is what turned him to the side of evil. He hasn't gotten over his grandmom's death yet, because we are shown him bringing food to his grandmom's corpse, and it is pretty tragic to see him like this. I mean, if you love your grandmom, you will definitely feel sad for him. But this is where he's caught slipping up. A government official pops out from under his grandmom's blanket and then BAM! Shoots him at point blank range with a sniper rifle. Now, his death is very boring because he's shot to death, but I am a sucker for poetic deaths. That's why he is so much above the others. Next, we have my third favorite character, the old transformation warrior. Now, out of the three old gen heroes, she achieved the most. Not only did she take out the new gen transformation warrior, but also reformed her to the point of switching sides. And she also took out the Iron Arm warrior temporarily, but she did take him out. Her death also is very sad. She sacrifices herself and gives her opponent a human body because both the old and the new gen transformation warrior dreamed about being human again. So she sacrifices herself and gives her opponent the chance to live her dream because she believed that she was already human, which is just such a poetic death. Like, if you think the last one was poetic, this is something else, man. Next, we have the most badass death in the entire story. It's the Iron Arm warrior. And this guy, at first I thought that his guy was gonna be a nobody. Our MC gets a power up and then he gets molly walked by our MC. And like, he's looking like this. And after that he recovers and there is a proper fight again. Amazing fight, and also a tragic backstory. Like, imagine the person you're trying to protect says you to kill yourself. He kind of deserved it, but it's still pretty sad. And then the fight after that is so cool. It's so cool that it gets Metamorphosis's belt working again. Oh my god, even the belt got hyped and comes back to life. And then his death, I'm not even going to say anything. Read it for yourself. So we are finally at the big bad, the mastermind, the man who planned everything since the beginning, the Resurrection Warrior. I'm not going to say much about his death. The last panel, or the last entire chapter, where there is no speaking, just him trying to live one best day before he goes, again, is really tragic. And also, he corrupted his best friend just to finally get his end. There's nothing else he could do. There was no other way. It's very tragic. Now let's talk about the goat of the entire series, Ivan Pushkin, the old glacier warrior. My god, did this guy do numbers for the old warriors. So this guy, okay, the Russians called upon him to fight against the sword warrior, and he fought against the sword warrior 1-on-1. The only other guy who could do this was the Metamorphosis warrior, and Ivan Puskas won. If the previous party or the previous world's party could not come and rescue the sword warrior, there was nothing that could be done. The show would end there. The story would end there. He fucking won, and he was ruthless. When his old party, the sword warrior's old party, comes back to protect him, no shits given. All of them were butchered because he knew, even though they were fighting for good, he could not let them live. It would be a bad omen. And the only reason this guy won, the sword warrior, was able to survive and defeated Ivan Puskas, was pure plot armor. You can say that they built up the thing by making Ivan do that before becoming the demon Ice King before, but I don't know, man. I felt like that came out of nowhere and he was done dirty. But like, in my eyes, he will always be the goat of this show. The next is arguably the best fight in this entire manhwa, and that is Arcadius versus the Fate hero. And like, both of them are so powerful. They're summoning angels like it means nothing. And you know what makes it fun? At the beginning, the Fate hero starts off as the weaker of the two opponents. Arcadius is easily dodging her attacks, blocking her attacks, straight up tanking some of them. But then as it goes on, the fear that Arcadius might not be able to defeat her increases. The fear of loss increases. and the Fate hero ends up becoming more powerful than Arcadius because all his followers start believing that he is going to lose. And then she becomes so strong that she ends up corrupting his archangels. And in the end, the only reason that the Fate hero wins is because he finally understands what he stands for. And he proves that the fate of a few, the true fate of a few, is much, much stronger than fear of many. And throughout this battle, Arcadius understands that the Fate hero is just another person who's been hurt and who is hurting. So he ends up sacrificing himself, and he embraces her, and then he locks both of them. He seals both of them away. So this magnificent fight, and how she ends up gaining more power, and that perfect ending to their brawl, and a really disgusting backstory, which she got the ending she deserved. She wasn't justified in her killings, but at the same time you do feel sympathy for her, and that is why I think this deserves to be number 2 on the list. So we are finally at our number 1, the Metamorphosis Warrior. Let me glaze this man a little bit, okay? If Ivan Puskas did not exist, this guy would be the GOAT. As a matter of fact, he's already standing right beside him. Okay, he is a very close second. So let me put some feats forward. We know that this man survived a fight against the Sword Hero. There is nobody else on the list who can say that. Yes, he lost. He had third degree burns on his body. He could not walk, and his belt was broken, but he survived it. And then he comes back to fight the martial arts warrior because the government could not extract the other weapons from the location without his help. That is how great this man is. Okay? And in the entire fight, during the entire fight, his belt is taunting the martial arts warrior. Like straight up, there's a scene where he's like, oh, do you really think that there is any life left in this man for you to drain? But unfortunately, that fight was the end of him. And he goes out standing. And not only this, okay, not only the coolness factor and the fact that he survived the fight, but he also does it for his sister. See, man, I have a brother, and I will never give him a compliment. I will never say nice things to him, but I will never let anything happen to him either. And I'm not going to accept this in front of him. I'm not going to accept this in front of my parents, but I know it. And that is why, for me at least, this guy's death was the most tragic and the most sad for me to bear. That concludes our entire list. I know a lot of people haven't read this manga because they think it's a typical revenge story, but if you are one of those, trust me and give it a try. It will be worth it. And a lot of people hate backstories also, but I think this manhwa in particular really does backstories very well, because I used to look forward to the backstories of every character. So that's all. Personally, I really enjoyed it. I think if you haven't read it, give it a try. And that's all for today, I guess. See myself again in the next video. Bye.